In this video, we're going to look at some commands related to permissions. We're going to look at the ID, chmod, umask, sudo and su, chown, and chgrp, which stands for change group. I've logged into CyderMill and I'm in my home directory. And what I'm going to basically do is just show you first the ID command. And you just type in ID, hit enter, and what it will do is it will show you, of course, in my case, this is me. This is my ID number, okay, username, and then these are the groups that I belong to, and the group identification numbers. So that's pretty much what ID does. It just kind of shows you, who you are and what group or groups you belong to. Let's take a look at the chmod command. Basically what the chmod command does, it changes file permissions on a file. So first I'm going to create a file. I'm just going to do the redirection, and I'm just going to put chmod.txt. And when I look at that file, you can see that it gave me these default permissions right here, which is read, write, read, and read. And I want to give it full permission. So I want this file right here to have read, write, and execute for all the groups and everyone. So if I want to do that, it's actually really easy. It's just chmod. Now, if we remember, if you want to do read, write, and execute, well, the execute is 1, the write is 2, and read is 4. So that's going to be 7. And we just go 7, 7 for each group, right? So 7's for the first group, which is me, the creator. 7's for the user groups it's assigned to, which in this case is users. And this other 7's for everyone else. So it's going to change these to all RWX. And then you just do the file, and there it is. Now, if I want to change it so that just I have read-write permissions to it, I would do something like chmod, and I would do 700. And when we look at that, you can see that's what it's done. So, say for example, I want to have read-write permission and execute permissions here, but I only want to have execute permissions on these two. Okay, so I could do something like 7 chmod, and I do 711, and there it is. Because 7, remember, does all of them, and 1 and 1 right here, that's going to do the executes. Now let's do one more. So say for example, I want to have read, write, execute permissions on my first one, but I only want to have read and write permissions on these two. Well, I would do chmod 766, and there it is. Okay, because the 6 is the 4 and the 2, which is the 4 for the read and 2 for the write. I want to talk a little bit about umask because it can be somewhat complicated. This is right out of the book, and it has this little table here, which I think does a good job of kind of showing how umask works. And what they're saying is, with this one, if you enter a number like 0002, because you have 2 at the end, it's basically going to knock out this this W right here. Because in the binary, it's going to put in a 1 in that place, and when it does that, pretty much what's known as unsets it. So if I was to do, say, 0022, it would take away the W here, and it would take away the W here. If I was to do 0004, for example, it would take away this read, but leave the W here. And if I was to do it with a 6, it would take away both the read and the W. There's really nothing we can do for the execute. But let's go into our screen and take a look at how this works. Okay, so to demonstrate this, I think what I'm going to do is first I'm just going to write umask and show you what it's at. That's pretty much the default that you're going to have on this server, 0022. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it. I'm going to go umask, and I'm going to write, well, first I'm going to write it with that file. So to create a simple file, just to see how this works, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do 0022.txt. And then I'll do the LL, which is short alias for ls-l. And you can see that 0022 took away the W here, and it took away the W here. Okay, so for the group and the owner, that's what got lost. All right, so let's change this again. I'm going to go umask 0002. So what that should do is put the W back into this one. So I change the UMask. I'm going to create another file going 0002.txt. Again, the file names don't matter. It's just something I'm using to keep it straight. So at 0002, you can see we have the W back. At 022, we don't. Why, Bill? Because the 2's here cancel out this one and this one. But here we don't have a 2, so it doesn't cancel out that one. Now let's try another one. I'm going to do UMask and go 0044. And I'm going to go to a file, and I'll call that one 0044.txt. The txt doesn't really matter. And I'll do my LL. And then you can see what that did is it knocked out the R's. But it kept the W's. Why? Because we said 4. 0044. By the way, I don't really need to do anything with this first 0. And the second 0 here would affect this one. But I don't want to do anything to mess with that one right now. I'm just going to be doing these. Okay. So that's what we got. Now let's take a look at what happens if we change this UMask again to say 0042. Let's do something like that. Okay. And so we're going to create a file called 0042.txt. The numbers that you're going to use are going to be 6, 4, or 2, by the way. And we do that. We look at where our file is right here, 0042. And you can see it did exactly what we wanted. The 4 took away the read, but gave the write. And the 2 took away the write, but gave the read. So that's all working just fine. And then we have another one that we can try. We'll go UMask 0066. Okay, that should pretty much knock out everything in those two columns. We create a file called 0066.txt, and we'll look at that one, and you can see this is exactly what it did. It doesn't have the R or the W, anything. Okay, just completely took them out. And then if we did all zeros, it would just be RW, RW, RW. Now, if we go back, let's set it back to what it was, just to make sure we're good. 0022, that's the default for this server. And again, what does UMask do? Basically, UMask is a tool that the administrators use so that when someone creates a file or directory, it automatically has a certain set of default permissions to it. That's really all it is. As far as your purposes go, you probably won't use it. Okay, now I want to talk about su and sudo a little bit. Now, these are two commands you're really not going to be able to do much with because you don't have permissions high enough to do it. But what they do is they allow you to assume the role of somebody else. So, for example, if I was logged in as the administrator and I did su, and there was a user out there named Bob, I could technically sign in as Bob. I could go su Bob. In this case, of course, Bob doesn't exist, so that's what we get. But if he did exist, it would allow me to assume the role of Bob. And then I could see everything that Bob has access to, what the permissions for Bob are. I could do an ID on Bob, whatever. There's also sudo. And what sudo does is it allows you to run commands as basically what's known as a root user or a sudo user. It's a pretty powerful permission to have because you can mess up a lot of stuff. You guys can't get sudo, but I have sudo permissions. And I'll just show you how it works. That's not a big deal. So what I have to do is I can do sudo su, and when I do that, it's going to ask for my password. Once I enter it, I think I mistyped it. Yep, I'll try it again. Okay, so when I get that little pound sign there, then basically this is the directory that I'm in. I have a little UMask directory. I basically have sudo privileges right now. Okay, can't really do a lot with it. Well, I can, but I'm not going to really demonstrate that because it doesn't really matter. It just means I have root access privileges. I could do more to this system than I need to. Now, if I want to change back to just my S-Shaper, I can just go su S-Shaper, and now I'm back in my bash screen with S-Shaper, do my ID, and I'm back that way. Okay. If I want to go back into the sudo, I can, whoop, wrote it backwards. I can go back in here, do my ID, and look, gives me root right there. Okay, now we're going to look at chown and chgroup, or GRP. And they basically kind of do the same thing. Chown, of course, is a little bit more powerful because you can change owners and groups. when chgroup is just for groups only. It's kind of an older command. Again, unfortunately, you won't have the ability to actually change groups on this because you don't belong to any, but I can at least give you a demonstration of how it works. So what I have is, I'll look at the files. I have these files here that we created earlier, and let's just change 0002 file. Okay, so I go own, and I go 000, oh, I'm sorry, put in what I want to do, which will be, I'm going to change the faculty directory. So I don't really have any other users to do it to, so I just use this blank, but if I did, I just put the user there. I'm going to just do faculty, and then 0002, and, whoop, and you can look here, you see how it changed the group to faculty. That's really all chown does. If I want to change it back, just chown, and I change it back to users, because that's the default it goes into, and then the file name. And I forgot my, oops, forgot my little colon. All right, so I do that, and it's back. Chgroup would do the same thing, okay? chgrp, whoops, chgrp. Now I don't have to worry about any colons because it's just basically just write, faculty and that file again. And when we look at it, it's been changed to faculty. To summarize, we looked at the permission-related commands. We looked at the ID, which pretty much displays our user ID. We looked at chmod, which changes the file's mode. It basically changes the file's permissions. We looked at umask, which can set the default permissions for a file. We looked at su and sudo, which even though you don't have permissions to work with these, you kind of saw a little bit how they worked. Remember that su allows you to switch the user, and sudo gives you pretty much root privileges. You can also do sudo with a command, too, if you had the privileges to do it. Chown changes the file's owner, and it can also change the file's owner and group. When chgroup is an older command that just changes the file's group.